Loved the film, by the way. It's fantastic.
Thanks very much, Dorothy. Thank you.
Do you have any quotes or words of wisdom that you follow, like the film's motto, have courage and be kind, that have helped you throughout your career?
Well, I'm liking that one lately, I must say, just because sometimes it does feel like life gets a bit easier if you can just sort of take a breath and have a bit of courage. It can just be a small amount, and if you are kind. But there's a quote at the end of Hamlet when he says that the readiness is all, and I sometimes think just being ready in life. And what do I mean specifically? It's just be early for things, you know, as well, and be ready for your life and say thank you. So I always think be early, be ready, say thank you is a good piece of advice, because it means you can enjoy things, you know. And if you're whatever it is, be ready to have a laugh, or be ready to work hard, or be ready to enjoy the film, or just kind of be there. And I suppose it means kind of be present as well. Be present, and it makes you happy.
And you've done a fantastic job moving away from the traditional gender stereotyping of classic prince and princess movies. How challenging was it modernising this fairy tale?
Well, it's very nice to hear that. The people knew the sort of set pieces of the story, so the chases and the transformations in terms of magic, you know, pumpkins into coaches and mice into horses, all that kind of thing, and I knew I wanted to have fun with that. But the biggest transformation really we were after was the transformation of Cinderella's character in a subtle way, so that she could be considerate and thoughtful, but also intelligent and with a good, strong sense of fun. When we meet the grown-up Cinderella for the first time, she's reading a book. Throughout the course of the picture, we reference great writers. We see that her father and mother had curiosity and a sort of appetite for life, so they really encouraged Cinderella to have that. And I think it means that by the time the cruelty that the stepmother and the stepsisters kind of impose on her, she thinks, she reacts, she listens, but she isn't kind of immediately angered or aggressively reactive. She gets to think a bit more. And of course we also wanted to make sure that when the prince came into the picture, she gets a chance to meet him before she knows he's a prince. And we take away from her any sense that she's in a marriage race or that she's waiting to be rescued. She does meet this guy, and they have, in the context of our film, which obviously compresses things, they have a proper kind of relationship. They actually talk to each other about some things rather than her being passive or victimish. And so that central kind of change was the key thing. And Lily James, who plays Cinderella, was key to making that work in performance.
And what was the most memorable day on set making the film?
There was a day in the middle of the ballroom sequence where we probably had 500 extras dancing and about 7 camera teams, and we were on the big 007 stage of Pinewood. It's the biggest sound stage, I think, in Europe. And on that we built an enormous 4-walled ballroom set. Dante Ferretti, this Oscar-winning production designer, had constructed it over maybe 6 months it took to build it, and it looked absolutely amazing. Weird little things happened, like our Cinderella, Lily, got a cold and flew just before it started, so she was in fact late for the ball. She was the last person to arrive. We'd been shooting for 2 days, and I rang her the night before and said, you know what, tomorrow I'm going to have to shoot something with Cinderella. I know you're not well, but so we'll have to put somebody into the blue dress. And she said, stop right there. I'll be in first thing. Nobody's wearing that dress. So she came in, and on that day we did. There are 5 dances in the movie. You don't see them sort of in direct succession, but there are 5 big pieces of dancing that everybody learnt, that we had music for. And to answer your question, on one day we did all of the dances from lots and lots of different camera positions. So the whole day from 8 o'clock in the morning through till 7 o'clock at night was dancing. There was endorphins and energy and swirl and sweat and corsets and you name it. And by the end of the day, it was phenomenally exhilarating, and you really felt that all the actors and all the crew had really gone to the ball. They'd had this amazing, exciting, just physical experience, and it felt really like we might have a chance of conveying that to a cinema audience. So that felt very special. It was one of the great days of my professional life.
And how does your work as an actor influence your work as a director?
Well, I think that I'm very sensitive to actors in the sense that I admire what they do, and I realize that people get quite frightened sometimes and quite anxious. And sometimes with actors you need to find, I speak for myself as well, sometimes actors need a lot of help from a director, sometimes not at all. Trying to find the way in which you might get in out of the way, or maybe say a few things that are helpful. Judging what and when to say something is important, and if you can help prepare the conditions. If you know that a scene is likely to be difficult for an actor, then you're just a little more careful about how you begin the day and how you rehearse, how many people are on set. You can make an atmosphere that is much more supportive and trusting for the actors. So I think it's often about performance. And for instance, I specifically sometimes, which isn't usual in film, will start a scene by shooting the close-ups. I'll block it and work out where everybody's sitting or standing, and then, although that doesn't necessarily always get set, but if you have a plan for it, it usually kind of works out. But sometimes, normally you'd then shoot a wide shot, and then you'd get a bit closer, and you'd shoot mid-shots, and then you shoot a close-up. I often shoot close-ups first in order to really kind of get performance at its freshest and also at its least planned, because the goal, it was certainly the goal in Cinderella, was to make all the performances and acting feel like it was happening before our very eyes. It wasn't too set, it wasn't too prepared, it wasn't too planned. And so I think that my background as an actor makes me, approach things in that way.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.